Yo, next level boxing talk. What's up? What's going on? Hey, yo, check this out. Just want to delve into these numbers for this past weekend. Not that it really should even be a contest, right? A contest between the two events because we were talking literally apples and oranges here, in that they were essentially not competing against each other. And what I'm talking about is Shakur Stevenson versus Oscar Valdez, and Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor, right? So there was a lot of people, or a lot of I don't know, angst that was brought up about these events being put on the same day, as if they were in competition for each other, against each other, which they were not. First of all, in order for there to be a competition between the events, you would have to look at the broadcasting rights, right? Like, who's putting it out there. In order for it to be a competition, it would have to be that Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor were available on linear television. Whether it's NBC Sports or Showtime or something along those lines. It has to be that they would have been broadcast on a linear platform, which they weren't. I've been saying this over and over again. The zone will not be able to compete with ESPN until they find a linear, what they call that. I'm using the wrong word. Basically, until they find a station. Like, if the zone were to, let's say, acquire TBS, right? Or acquire the old BET. I don't know if that's around. Or Spike TV. If they were to buy Spike TV and were available on cable, then they would be in direct competition with ESPN. Until that happens, the game's over. Like, there's no competition, right? So these two events, numbers came out as far as viewership. I have people who are trying to tell me that 1.5 million globally, right? 1.5 million globally. And anytime you reach a million, you something to celebrate for the ladies, right? That is a bigger number than 1.4 million nationally that Shakur Stevens against Oscar Valdez did. This is actually the argument that they're trying to give me, and I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand it. I'm gonna put it to you this way: if it takes you 170 territories across the globe to reach 1.5 million, but it takes Stevenson and Oscar versus Valdez, a single country, United States, big continent, yes, but a single country nonetheless, to get to 1.3 and peak to 1.4, and that's just on the linear, on the Nielsen ratings, right? But they can gauge the Nielsen ratings. That's what people that tuned into ESPN to watch that fight, right? Peaked at 1.4 million. Let's say 1.4 million in the country. You're telling me that 1.5 million globally is bigger than 1.4 million nationally, I don't understand it. I don't understand what the argument would be, right? Because first of all, like I said before, and shout out to these, yes, don't get me wrong. The better product, the more entertaining fight, that night, by all discernible measures, right, would be Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano. That's not even the argument, right? That's not even the argument. The more successful event may have been Serrano Taylor, but as far as and that's also debatable because it's like how much revenue did it produce. So I don't know what the ticket sales were. I know you sold 18,000 tickets, but if you're selling 18,000 tickets at a certain price and another guy sells 12,000 tickets at a higher price, then it's not about the tickets. It's about how much revenue was produced, but that's neither here nor there. The point is that they got a hell of a buzz. Kudos to the lady. I would love to see that fight again. But it would have been, in my opinion, a bigger event had it been done in the UK. Why? Because women's boxing is bigger in the UK. The reason why they didn't get more than 1.5 million globally is because the fight took place in the United States. And when it's, 9 o'clock at night here or 8 o'clock at night here, I think it's like 5 o'clock in the morning in the UK. I'm not sure. Don't quote me, but it's about there. And no matter how much you love a fight, it's really hard to get up in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, or enjoy a fight 4 or 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. So to me, it would have made sense that it would be in the UK for Katie Taylor's sake, because that's where she's really been built, right? That's where she was built. But they came to New York. They did the fight at Madison Square Garden. It was a great event. 18,000 tickets sold. Puerto Ricans, Irish, and all that. They showed up. But there was a reason why the fight wasn't put in Las Vegas, right? There was a reason why the fight wasn't put in Las Vegas. They chose New York because of the Irish community and the Puerto Rican community. And they knew they could sell the tickets there. They weren't sure that it could do much in Vegas. They weren't sure. If they were sure about going to Vegas or LA, they would have done it there. But they didn't. They were counting on Amanda Serrano's selling power to the Puerto Rican community, to bring the New York City Latinos out, the New York City Puerto Ricans out, and they were counting on the Irish showing up for Katie Taylor, and New York is very, very much Irish still. It's a very large Irish community. I mean, Irish people are part of the fiber that built New York. If you don't believe me, watch Gangs in New York, right? They were just here. They've been here a long time. So that's why the event was a regional event. It was a regional event. That's not a slight on the event. That's not a detrimental. That's just a fact. The promoters know that if it was going to be in the United States, it had to be in New York, right? The Stevenson-Valdez fight was in Vegas. In Vegas to get the fan bases from, LA, and I heard that LA is not that far from, California is not that far from Vegas. I know when I was in Arizona, it seemed like everything was about 3-4 hours away from each other. I'm not going to comment on that. But you could get the Tucson crowd there. You could get the LA crowd or the California crowd out there. You could get the Vegas crowd out there. You know, they were counting on that, and then the event was built around the NFL draft. So the city of Las Vegas was already abuzz with the NFL draft. That's why they had the event there. It's been planned for over a year. Not particularly for them to fight in Vegas on that day, but for Top Rank to put on an event in Vegas on ESPN on NFL draft night. That's been for more than a year. That's part of their plan for the next 3 years moving forward until the contract is out. You know, so that's what I'm talking about, man. And again, you know, I don't understand what the argument is. I don't understand the argument is. When I looked at the Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano numbers, and they said globally 1.5 million, I was disappointed. I was disappointed. I thought it would be bigger, but now I'm understanding why it would be that small. That's a small number. 470 territories across the globe, 1.5 million viewers is low. I understand why that would be, though, and it probably is because of the time zones. The fight taking place in the United States at, what was it? They were got in the ring about 10, 11 o'clock at night. In all the other territories across the world, especially the UK, is going to be about 5 o'clock in the morning. So, not too many people are going to stay up just to see that fight, no matter how great of a fight. Now, the fight itself, the better fight, without question, was Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor. It's what has satisfied the boxing customer. But as I'm watching the YouTube pages and the boxing social media, African Americans aren't talking about that fight. They're not talking about that fight. They're not. And neither are Mexicans. Mexicans are not into that fight. They weren't called to that party. They weren't invited to that party. They don't give a fuck about Katie Taylor, and they don't give a fuck about Amanda Serrano, right? So in that respect, it is a regional event that was executed excellently, but it never, ever had a chance to even worry about, to enter into conversation of having to worry the event of Shakur Stevenson versus Valdez. They were not in competition with each other, which was my argument. One is a regional event, one is a national event. You know, one has, it should have had more international appeal, but it was done in the wrong time zone for it to have the broader international appeal. Why do you think Fury versus Dillian White in the UK was taking place in the UK would even be beamed back over here to the United States? What was this? What was it, like 6 o'clock again, 7 o'clock at night? It was the decent hour for people to see. I don't know how much people see. I don't think anybody bought because it was on pay-per-view. But if it was for free, people would have tuned in for that. You know, either way, it's neither here nor there. Just want to clarify this. Call me crazy. Please leave it in the comments. Am I missing something here? 1.5 million globally is actually smaller than 1.4 million nationally. Anybody that can't get their heads around that, I don't know what to tell you. And you know what? I choose to remain teachable. So if somebody in the comments has an argument, you know, and can put it in a way and phrase it where I can understand it differently, by all means, leave it in the comments. All right, peace. I'm out.